Okay, 5 minutes about scaling and moving, and to do that I recreate the tiles that we had in early sessions. I will not explain so much since we have already done it. I will just put in everything in a very quick order. So converter, vector math, and here we use a subtract of 0.5. You know, these steps was to get everything changed from 0 to 1. So we have instead 0, 1 and 0. So it's to center everything. So subtract, multiply by 2 here, and then like that. And now we need an absolute, so it's the same on every side. So Shift D, and we put in an absolute. And to make the tiles, we also added a subtract. I think you remember that one. So we add a subtract here. We put 1 here just to get the tiles correct in the starting position. And then we needed to make the tiles, and that we did by separating X, Y, Z and use a minimum or smooth minimum. So we went to converter math, changed it to a smooth minimum, took that in here, and put that, and we got 1 tile. To get 2 tiles, we can then add a scale here. But if we just add 1 scale, you will see what happens. And we put that at 2. You shrink that, so now it's half as big. And now it's just a third, but we don't get repetitive patterns here. That is because we have not made this to 0 to 1 every step. Now it's 0 to 1, but it's also 1, 2, 3 here. So if I just take this one right here, you can see it's really bright here. And what we would like is to cut here. So we have 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1. And if you remember to cut, we use a fraction, and that we put after the scale. So Shift D, and we just put in a fraction here. And when we do that, we get everything as we would like to, because now we have scale here, and that could go up to whatever. So now it's going from 0 up to 6, but as soon as it reaches 0.999, this fraction will then go up to 0 again. So it will be with this 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, but 6 times, or in this case 3 times. So that is what fraction is doing, and now we get our tiles here. So here is our scale, and as you can see, we are scaling from the lower bottom here, so we are not scaling from the center. In some cases we would like to have center, and I can show that in a later session because it's a little bit more job or work to do. So we're satisfied with this, and now it's about movement. And movement you should always put first, before all other math. So just take this scale, put it here, but we change this to add or subtract. And now you can just change the x-axis and it will move left to right. So if I change this, you can see it changes. Often it goes in an opposite direction compared to what you believe. So when you add 0.5, you can see it goes to the left 0.5. But if I put a negative 0.5, then it goes to the right. So normally most people use subtract to not be too confused here when it moves, because it feels more correct. And you can do the same in the y direction. And before all the math, then it's small things you should put in here, because now we only work with values 0 to 1. So if I put 0.1 here, it's 1/10 of the value that we move to the right here. So this is how you move. So start with move, then add the scale, and after the scale you add a fraction to divide the scale so you can get a repetitive pattern. In some cases you might not need a repetitive, you just want to shrink it, then you don't use the fraction. But if you want repetitions, then you add the fractions. So that was about scaling and moving stuff, and that was also 5 minutes, so see you in the next chapter.